and they're happy and everything's fine. But when you talk to you, for example, and your party, that's not the case. Where are we today?
The Greenlandic people is not Danish. They are a people of themselves that have the right to external self-determination. And when they established the United Nations basically said nobody's allowed to have colonies. You have to give the Greenlandic population these different opportunities to either become independent or have a kingdom and so on and so forth.
The way Aki and many others see it, total Greenlandic independence isn't just needed, it's also deserved as reparations for many of the historical atrocities committed by Denmark.
That also consisted in taking a lot of our
that
children,
pic is
taking them to
gone.
Denmark, trying to assimilate them. We also saw a lot of sterilization for women, so half of our women were sterilized.
Like it was done like forced medical sterilization?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
Taking a lot of our children, taking them to Denmark, trying to assimilate them. We also saw a lot of sterilization for women, so half of our women were sterilized.
Like it was done like forced medical sterilization?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a well-known story in Denmark, but it was in around the 60s all the way up until I think 1992. Girls down to the age of 12 had secretly put IUDs in their body by Danish doctors, and also they got injected with this medicine that makes you sterile, I guess.
A lot of the times people didn't even know that it was happening. They were just getting a routine check.
I spoke to some of the women that recently got an apology from the Danish state from doing
An
this.
apology.
And what had happened some of the times were that they would start to experience, these 12, 13-year-old girls would start to experience a lot of pain in their body. They wouldn't understand why. They would go back to the doctor. They would say, I'm feeling super strange. I'm bleeding. I don't know why. The doctor would not recognize the pain or the struggles of the girl. She would go back, and luckily women would start talking to each other. They'd find out that they had IUDs, some of them from doctors telling them, luckily, and they would, to be able to have children, pull them out themselves.
Jesus.
Because as a result of that, some have estimated that the Greenlandic population would have been around 150,000 today, but we're barely 60,000 instead.
I think it's a common thing that you want to keep down the birth rate in areas that you control. And I think we see a lot of stories like this all over the world, especially with colonialism.
I can't believe that something that horrific was happening in the 1990s.
Yeah, we have a lot of similarities with our fellow indigenous communities in both Canada and Alaska. Some atrocities are worse over there, though we do a lot of similarities. And
advocates say that these colonial actions have led to a great generation of trauma and shame, and still to this day.
The Greenlandic indigenous people were viewed less than. There were a lot of racism, apartheid. We weren't even allowed to speak our language at one point. And because of that, to this day, we still see the consequences in our society.
We're not treated as equals. I think that's the main reason. There's been so many
Highest rate of suicide in the world.
What do you think's causing that high suicide rate?
Cold.
I don't know, many things, man. Colonization and loss of identity. So many problems, Problems are stacking, so I cannot pinpoint exactly this is the problem,
The most thought out studies that have been looking at it over time have shown that a lot of these implemented issues through apartheid and colonialism, taking away our children, forced sterilization. Right after that, the suicide rates kept going up. throughout the years, and the only time it went down when we got more self-rule.
But the conversation about total independence versus the reacquisition of Greenland, though a colorful one in Denmark, isn't on the front of the minds of most people in Greenland. After all, they've had the ability to vote for their own independence since 2009, yet have deliberately chosen as a majority vote to remain inside of Denmark's kingdom.
I think we are in a really good place right now, so I don't think it should be changed for anything.
Now, the crux of the geopolitical questions posed by the recent situation in Greenland seem twofold. One, in the micro, the speeding up of the process and dialogue for real independence and allegiance, and then two, the more macro and confusing question of the potential disbanding of NATO due to the inability of the organization to call an Article 5 sanction against its own military power and source of revenue in the United States. It was brought up again recently at the Munich Security Conference and has potential political, military, and economic impact for Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, China, and Iran, all of which we intend to report from in the near future.
And his family has ruled over their people using violence and terror for over 70 years. But Kim is a man torn between two worlds. The traditions of his brutal communist past and the need to become a legitimate
Am I going to this criminal regime that I inherited from my grandfather and my father? And that dilemma, you know what? It could be the end of the Kim dynasty. You know what?
And father. His grip on power.
Leone wants to become a legitimate businessman. In many respects, a huge criminal.
Recently, with his first lady. World leaders. But in 2017, into his family business. This is his elder half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, who is for a quiet life in China, surfacing on camera from time to time. But then it seemed
during the course of with good intelligence community that Kim Jong-un to the CIA was supplying information about
a fascinated news media shadowed his every move.
he still had very good connections to the regime. So for the CIA to be able to recruit Kim Jong-nam as an informer and to get whatever information he had, it would have been a huge deal for them. This would also have been considered very treasonous by Kim Jong-un.
It seems the time had come for Kim to deal with his older brother.
Interesting.
February 13th.
I need to intonate the G string.
Now, for the first
Damn
time on
it.
television, one of the assassins tells her full, extraordinary story.
It's too far away.
It begins with her being recruited by a man who claimed to be a TV producer.
Pada waktu pertama saya kenal James tuh orangnya baik, terus
Baik,
lucu
terus.
juga kan. Ikut syuting, katanya ikut syuting gimana, saya bilang kan. Syuting kayak buat lucu-lucuan gitu, lucu-lucuan gimana, kayak gimana ya. Terkenal kayak boom prank.
Boom boom? What?
Jadi saya juga mikir gimana ya. Terkenal kayak boom prank. Jadi saya juga mikirnya, oh ya udahlah gitu.
Baby want boom boom.
Kim Jong-un's agents groom City and another young woman to ambush unsuspecting members of the public and smother their faces with cosmetic creams in what they thought were hidden camera show stunts.
Saya kerap dan sering itu melakukan prank. Dipakai hand body dan pakai baby gitu, baby oil gitu. Jadi saya rasa
Baby want boom boom.
seperti biasa aja gitu.
City's handler arranges a meeting at a cafe at the airport. She is to receive details.
Langsung kayak mengamuk gitu, habis ngamuk.
This image is very scary. There's a gentleman in all black walking near this door, okay, and he's got a rolly suitcase. He's checking in to make sure that Kim Jong-nam is receiving medical treatment. It's a very elaborate operation, very old school.
The operation plays out like a cold-blooded spy caper.
Kamu itu terlibat pembunuhan oleh adikmu
She say it
presiden.
again?
Kamu itu terlibat pembunuhan
Kabumbuhan.
adikmu presiden.
No.
The trial creates shockwaves around the world.
What is making?
She's been charged for the most serious crime in the country. The crime is murder. For the offense of murder, there's only one punishment, and that's death by hanging.
This video evidence helped to build a picture of Alicia's
Kasus
Kim Jong-un's troublesome older brother was no more.
Kim Jong-un's half-brother died in such a terrible, humiliating way.
It's a way of concealing Kim's whereabouts from satellites. Portal tunnel. We can see the tunnel in that goes under the
There are some 8,000 tunnels in North Korea, reaching up to 1,000 feet below the surface. Some tunnels are thought to extend more than 30 miles, including an emergency escape
motorcade, drive underground.
shaped him in the ways of the Kim dynasty.
Kim Jong-un grew up in this extremely dysfunctional, paranoid, secretive family. It was impossible for Kim Jong-un to be a normal child.
remembers the current ruler.
작잖아요. 그러니까 그게 민주주의하고
is a perfect bag of rice. They bring his toilet as a portable toilet because they don't want foreign
So Kim Jong-un's psychology is deeply rooted in his father's side to Kim's experience.
So this is pretty much I remember him wearing a typical sports outfit. He was wearing Chicago shorts, Michael Jordan shoes. Really quite
Sounds off. I don't remember. Oh. What?
Extremely traumatic experience for Kim Jong-un to be abandoned like that.
Poor little fucking guy.
Kim's aunt and uncle are given
Poor little dictator.
Flown to the US and vanished from sight.
For the past 20 years, they have been living this completely anonymous life in Middle America. I expect them to show up, and every morning when they call, you know, and I spent the entire as a child as a normal I distinctly at the time. Jong-un in a submarine looking at missiles,
He's recalled to North Korea.
I swear I'm gonna play Ark.
Within a decade, Kim will find himself the supreme leader of the most repressive dictatorship on Earth.
Ever.
he had lived in the West, freedom up close. He would be a reformer.
First foreigners to visit. A little. Could see the wheels turning in Kim Jong-un's head.
Oh fuck,
In the
don't lose
drive
that
to
pick.
rebrand his kingdom, Kim has an ally, his celebrity wife.
Ri Sol-ju was a famous singer in North Korea. She would be instantly recognizable to any North Korean who's ever watched TV.
What's up to fucking eat my ass?
In 2018, Kim changes his wife's official name from Kamala to First
She's very much like the Kate Middleton of North Korea. She is there to kind of humanize her husband, but also the two of them together are supposed to be a kind of modern, aspirational couple. They're showing the future of
Where the hell does this begin?
Leading North Korea into the future presents Kim with another challenge. In a digital age shaped by the internet and social media, Kim is under pressure to ensure his people aren't left behind.
If
Fuck,
he's
I
gonna
don't
rule
know.
For decades to come, he has to build his loyalty base. He wants to woo his generation. So he started experimenting with internet access. Fall in love with the It's a smart strategy. But on the other hand, access to information is one of the most dangerous things for a leader like Kim Jong-un. Because if people see what life is like outside North Korea, the illusion could be broken. And that, of course, for Kim Jong-un, is terrifying.
For 75 years, the Kim family has relied on strength.
Around 2001, Kim Jong-un's father takes a train across Russia. The Russian ambassador is having conversations with him and asks him about succession. And he asks Kim Jong-un, who do you say was his successor? And Kim Jong-il said, well, my sons are all idle blockheads. Okay? It's my
Something like that.
the heart and minds.
Secret, even inside North Korea.
What the hell is this? Why does it sound like that? That's fucked up. What the fuck?
Involved in the nitty-gritty of North Korean politics. Some people don't have the ice in their veins to do it. Some people do. She said yes, and that's where we find ourselves today.
Quietly, Kim Yo-jong rose through the ranks to become her brother's propaganda chief.
In the South since the Korean War ended in 1953. So it was a really big deal.
The occasion was the Winter Olympics, dubbed the Peace Olympics, as athletes from North and South Korea competed together for the first time.
There was ice hockey game where the two Korean teams joined together as one. And she was in the stands in the VIP section. I was able to walk down to see her in the flesh. She was very kind of enigmatic.
all the media, the press, and writing that comes out in English in North Korea. Any piece of paper and any email that gets directed to Kim Jong-un is most likely viewed by her. And that's a critical thing to have.
The sweet princess isn't only Kim Jong-un's right-hand woman. Recently, she's become a devil. In the sign of her growing
Kim Yo-jong's prominence has dramatically increased in 2020. The thing that's most striking is that he's gone from a role of being in the background to actually being the voice of the regime.
South Korean activists who continue to drop propaganda leaflets over the border.
She is the only individual who has been able to put out a personal opinion in North Korean state media. Even the leader himself very rarely is going to express any sort of personal opinion. This means that she has a unique, special, and privileged role in the North Korean regime.
South Korea a message.
How is the rhythm on this shit? Oh, it's just straight fast.
Indicating her tightening grip on power. This year, she took over some of her brother's roles in party affairs and foreign relations. Sources suggest she is now the real power holder in Pyongyang.
Now she is continuing, even outside of her actual position, bashing South Korea and the United States. This is
on his way to resolve
as a leader is resetting the North Korean political system so that he becomes more above the fray and doesn't necessarily have to sign off on any individual public execution.
Kim Jong-un does not want to be seen as a person who criticizes and badmouths, other leaders. So he leaves the dirty work in some respects for Kim Jong to do.
Kim
he is a cartoon character, kind of Dr. Evil villain, right? But Kim Jong-un really is no joke. He is a ruthless dictator bent on staying in power.
Early in his rule, Kim Jong-un wiped out his enemies, then supercharged his nuclear arsenal. But Kim's greatest challenge lies ahead. The world is changing. To survive, Kim must change with it. Bring his country into the modern age.
Stray from what his father and his grandfather have created in trying to portray himself as a modern leader without losing control.
A much scarier place and a much scarier adversary.
Is on its knees.
North It's unfair for him to provide for his people.
To bring his country into the modern age and maintain his grip on power, Kim must lift the U.S.-led sanctions on international trade.
I'll be meeting with Kim Jong-un to pursue a future of peace and security for the world, for the whole world.
I will be eating a big fat coon.
In 2018,
Alright, what does this shit sound like?
the reverse of what we may have thought of the North Korean leader.
In Singapore, North Korea's reclusive dictator takes his first steps on the world stage.
I'm John Bolton. I was National Security Advisor for President Trump. For me, it was almost surreal to think that this was actually happening. A mistake in my view, but it was a historic first.
It is not how he's playing that. There's got to be a way easier way to do that. Let's see.
It was very clear in the meeting that Kim was very much in control. He was observing Trump very carefully. Early in the meeting, Kim asked Trump, "Well, what do you think of me?" Just testing people like that. That shows a level of confidence. What do you think of me? As an invitation said, "You're a tyrannical dictator oppressing 25 million people, and I don't trust a word you say." That would have been an accurate answer, but it could have been a But of course, Trump gave him a very glowing review. He was smart and so on and so forth.
Excellent relationship. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kim was prepared with a strategy for dealing with the American president.
There's a kind of magic that can happen when these two leaders get together. And I have to say, what I saw studied whatever they could to try to understand how President Trump thinks. Kim Jong-un sent an envelope with a massive handwritten letter. North Korea is very old school, in a sense. They're not going to send email attachments. They're very formal. It was something that charmed President Trump, that it was a massive handwritten
It is so awkward. I swear to God, there's a different way.
Not give away too much, but there was a discussion about joint South Korea and U.S. war games. As Trump called them, which he agreed to give up as a concession to Kim, that none of us on the U.S. side knew was coming. Obviously made Kim very happy.
And so was he. And we go back and forth. And then we fell in love.
proven himself to be very savvy and calculating in the way he has dealt with the outside world. Donald Trump out.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. You can't do that.
Kind of set off a race to meet him. Xi Jinping in China, nobody wanted to be left out. We suddenly saw this huge flurry of summits taking place, and it seemed like all of the leaders wanted to meet with Kim Jong-un.
North Korea
Here.
is a very impoverished country, but it has nuclear weapons. Kim Jong-un can blow up half the planet if he chooses to in a major war. And that's what gives him a huge leverage that otherwise he would never have. When he met with Putin in Russia, Putin is very famous for meeting leaders across the world very, very late. Well, in Vladivostok, it was Putin who waited for Kim Jong-un.
Fuck.
He wants to show the
That way it's not easy either.
world, even between friends, we have the upper hand.
Opening his secretive hermit kingdom to the outside world carries dangers for Kim Jong-un. At the start of his work, he encouraged foreigners to set up businesses in special trading zones near the Chinese border. One of the first outsiders to arrive was South Korean-born U.S. citizen Kim Dong-chul.
Anyway, fuck that part for now.
It's believed Kim Dong-chul passed secrets to the CIA for 4 years before he was betrayed by an informant and arrested. Kim Jong-un makes a very public example of his captive.
고통 속에 있다가 이제 기자회견을 하고.
What happens here? Okay, dude. How about... Alright, what is the timing on that?
2 years later,
Oh.
he meets with U.S. hostage negotiators to build on his warm relationship. 이분인지는 난 몰랐죠. 우리가 아마 대통령 시절에 내가 그때 나왔기 때문에 오퍼레이션 쇼를 본 적이 없습니다. 완전히 이게 미국으로
Why?
안전하게 귀국한 것이 이제 이때 아주 실감이 나더라고요.
In releasing his hostages, Kim Jong-un bolsters his image as a modern, civilized leader and buys credit with President Trump. February 2019, Kim Jong-un sets out on a 2,500-mile journey. The destination, Vietnam, and the second crucial meeting with President Trump. The prize, winning a deal to lift the economic sanctions crippling his country.
I think he felt very confident. He very immediately announced through the state media in North Korea that this summit was going to happen. That he thought that it was going to go very well for him.
Kim Jong-un's side, he wanted to show his people that, you know what? I will make peace with Donald Trump. And signs a deal with the U.S. president. That was the promise Kim Jong-un made as he left the train station in Pyongyang.
Mine doesn't sound like that.
On the first night of the summit, the two leaders meet for a dinner of North Korean state. Served well done for Trump, delivered for
So this was the dinner before the summit, the night before. Kim Jong-un looks very comfortable and confident. And he must
I
have
am
put on
signed
a
in,
bit
you
of
fuck.
a show.
Fuck you.
President Trump relayed a story that Kim Jong-un told about how, yeah, he executed his uncle and then displayed his head.
What the
for
hell?
us to see. In this day and age, to see that kind of brutality, very much like the heads of those beheaded.
Yeah, see his... Oh, wait a minute. There's two in there. Where's my fucking mouse? How do you do that? Wait a minute. Hold on. What? Alright, it's almost there. See, that's a fucking farce. There's never that pinch harmonic or that harmonic. He does something. I don't know how he does it. How's he get that harmonic at the bottom of the fucking thing? Okay. Maybe. Okay. I'm gonna shit and cum. He does it so, like, fucking smooth. What? Oh, I gotta sit up for this shit. Don't hear him pluck it though. It just does it. Steve Vai. C sharp. F sharp. B. All right. Oh. That's way too much of that shit. Damn, bitch, I barely moved it. That's not 9. Jesus. How the fuck do you do that? Can't read. Okay. Oh. That made me dizzy. Oh my god. There we go, bitch. Alright. Fucking get this over with. Fucker. Did something different. All right. Fuck. Fucking bastard. Maybe. Damn it, motherfucker. What the fuck? God damn it. What the fuck, man? Oh, that sucks. I want to go to bed. What is the clicking?